going on, people? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the show. Another fan debate show for you tonight. Thank you all for being here nice and early. Unfortunately, we weren't here nice and early. We had some tech issues, and of course, some people had literally just walked in the door. But we got a full panel tonight. Big up, D. How are you, sir?
Yes, I'm good. It's good to be back in the middle seat rather than the hosting seat. And yeah, we're talking about managers. That should be exciting as well. Unfortunately, we won't be talking about Leeds managers because they're not in the Premier League, but it'll be good to hear championship. It'll be good to hear the championship perspective on managers as well, innit?
Do you know what as well, right? That show that you hosted was the worst show I've ever seen. Ever.
As long as it wasn't as bad as Leeds last year, then I'll take it, man.
Listen, big up D for hosting, man. Much appreciated. It's good to be back, but it's good to have you back as a panelist, mate. And of course, I'm not going to be cruel. I love Joe. And Joe, it's always a pleasure having you on, my bro. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good, man. I'm happy to be back on, bro, to be honest. I enjoy this show very much. I enjoy the lads that are on this show. So, yeah, it's good to be back. And thank you for asking me back, mate. And like I say, we'll be back next season, smashing the likes of Palace on a regular basis. So it's all good.
You lost 5-1 the Roy Hodgson team, please.
That's a trophy for you guys, mate. That's a trophy.
Oh, here we go. Lord
Mate, it's looking good for Leeds, man. Let's hope they do come up so we can. I mean, we see enough of you anyway, but you know what it is like. Dave, joining me wearing a beanie hat tonight. Top man, how are you, bro?
Yeah, a bit battered after the last few weeks, mate. But yeah, in good nick, and looking forward to talking some football with some really top lads. A Fab Five. Great to be here, mate.
Good stuff, man. Appreciate it. Sam's back. What are you telling me, bro? You good?
Good, mate. Our team have gone up the table without kicking the ball over International Week. One of 3 teams to have done so, mate. So I'm all smiles there.
Oh, mate, Bournemouth are like, yes, we're up the table. Now,
what's going on?
Fair play to you, man. Fair play to you.
Sam's cheered me up already because we've gone up as well. So thank you, Sam.
Fair play, man. Greasy Don is back in the house. Don, how are you, mate?
Mm-hmm. I'm good, man. I'm good. It's been a boring international break. One of the worst ones that I've seen in a minute, to be honest. But as a Chelsea fan, I'm buzzing, man. I can't wait for the game against Newcastle. We've got a lot of players coming back now. Nkuku's in 14 training. You know, I'm excited to see him. Lavia has been training as well. So, yeah, we'll get into it, man. But, yeah, big up the boys, man, and big up the chat.
Yeah, man, listen, I do want to do some preview onto the weekend because obviously football's back. And let's be real, when you say football's back, football has been on. But, my God, it's been a hard couple of games watching Gareth Southgate's England. Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, it's been rough this time. I know Joe's not a fan of playing Gareth Southgate, but my God, that was so boring. It was unbelievable.
Over the moon, man, with the draw against Macedonia.
I was like, yeah.
Honestly, I've struggled. I've been at my parents'
What did you call them? Macedonia?
Macedonia.
I thought it was a Milton Keynes Dons when I saw MKD.
Malta and Macedonia. I mean, come on, we should be 3s and 4s smashing.
That's where Alexander the Great came from. And to think they're not going to conquer anybody, are they, Macedonia anymore?
That first game that we played, we didn't even have an XG of 1 by half time against Malta. How mad that is? You know how mad that is? Like,
I didn't even watch the game.
All these players that we've got, like usually I don't really care about international football until we actually get to like the cup competitions and that, yeah. But actually, we should always be excited to watch England because we've actually, on paper, arguably, we've got the best team right now on paper when it comes to depth, when it comes to experience, when it comes to world-class players, when it comes to winners. And this manager just doesn't make any of us want to watch us. Do you know what I'm saying? It's mad. It's actually crazy. What's going on?
Such a hard watch, man. Such a hard watch. Like, and I looked at the game, even the one the other night, right? And I thought, how we're missing players, and I thought, damn, we're actually only missing like 2, 3. This is scary. We're missing Bellingham and Stones. We had Foden out there. We had Kane out there. We had Rashford. We had Grealish. We had Walker. I'm thinking,
Saka.
What's going on? This is actually our first team, Maguire and Pickford. I know people don't rate them, but Southgate does. This is our first team. We couldn't beat Malta or Macedonia. Man, it's poor. Really poor, man. Really poor. So let's see, man. Let's see what happens. Obviously, it is only, it's not the important ones as such. We're through and it's all good, but worrying, man. When I look at the style of play, I'm like, these men don't know what they're doing. They're just like they've never met each other before. It's poor. And then like my guys were out there. Saka was out there. I'm thinking, you know, they were all poor, I thought. But anyway, there we go. Let's not talk about England. We move on. Otherwise, Joe will get the hump. Let's move. Listen, I wanted to talk about the weekend stuff, but first of all, I wanted to put a debate out there because I like to throw a debate question in, right? And I saw this question the other day, and I thought it was quite interesting in terms of the answers that we were getting. Everybody's aware that Pep and Klopp are probably the two best in the Premier League, so we won't even talk about them. But the question was, who's the best manager outside of that? And I think there's a few candidates right now to be put forward as to what that might mean, what that might look like, and what makes them a great manager. So I wanted to kind of open the floor and see how many names we're going to be actually debating here, because I actually think there's some top managers in the Premier League right now. Sure. And I think there's been a few.
So is it Premier League? Are we sticking Premier League managers?
Premier League, yeah. Premier League.
Okay.
Outside of Pep and Klopp, yeah, in the Premier League. Not the Championship, Joe.
We're not going to talk about Rotherham United.
I was thinking about a certain Uruguayan manager, but it's
I know you are. I know you're. I'm only joking with you, man. But
just put it.
Yeah.
But listen, I'll come to you first, D. Like, where's your head at with this? Because there's a few names, bro.
Oh, did you say me?
Yeah, D. Yeah. Start with you.
I said Pete. I was confused.
So did I.
There's a few managers out there. Eddie Howe comes to mind. Of course, Arteta's included there as well. You got Eddie Howe, Arteta, Emery, Postecoglou. I think it's a bit too early to judge him. I think it is. We haven't even gone into the new year yet, so I think Postecoglou will see what happens in the second half of the season. So I don't want to include him there yet. But I think it's mainly between Arteta, Eddie Howe, and what do you call it? Arteta, Eddie Howe, and Emery. I'm going to take De Zerbi out of that because there's a lot of hype around him, and I do think he's a good manager. But the overhype, like I saw it from a million miles away, and people are now saying what's happening in Brighton. He's a good manager, but he has his flaws as well. Every manager has his flaws, but I think his one is getting exposed a bit more this season. So I think it's them three managers to really debate in the show, if we're being honest.
Interesting, man. Don, what are you telling me?
I think I'm surprised that you missed out Poch, to be honest. As much as he's been making some basic errors this season, I think he's still in that conversation, in all honesty. He's got a lot to prove at Chelsea, but I'm surprised you didn't mention him, to be honest, Steve.
But if you're saying he's making basic errors, and I think if he's making basic errors this season, especially, I don't think he's up there. I think he's still learning his team. I think Poch is a very good manager. But if we just talk about this season, I can't include Poch there because he has made some errors. Yes, he's still learning about his team. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but next year I think it'll be better, or maybe second half of the season as you have players coming back from injuries as well. It'll be better to judge Poch like that because Poch is too up and down. You'll go get a result against Arsenal, then you'll struggle against, I don't know, Brentford at home. Like, it doesn't make sense. So for me to
the only thing I'll say, though, the only thing I will say is I don't think Eddie Howe and Arteta have done much more than Poch, in my opinion.
Yeah.
No. Eddie Howe has. He has.
How? What's he won?
What's Poch won?
What do you mean what's Poch won? Poch won trophies in France. You can only win what's in front of you. He had that job and he won trophies in France.
If Eddie Howe was over in France as well, he win trophies. I think Eddie Howe.
We're not gonna do that. I'm not saying it's the Premier League, but we're not gonna come with that same narrative. You're a football guy. I know you're a football man, yeah. So you can't use that. You can't use that narrative and say it's only France. He still had to go and do it. He went and did it.
He's had to go do it. I don't think Poch is a bad manager as well. This guy,
with egos, big egos, by the way. Mbappe. Hold on, D. He had big egos over there. He took over when PSG were third. They sacked Thomas Tuchel. He joined that team in January, February. They finished second behind Lille. Lille were having an amazing season that year, if you remember, right? And then the following year, he won the league by 15 points or something like that, with big egos like a Messi, a Neymar, Mbappe, and all them lot. So I'm not saying it's the biggest thing that you can win in football, but it's the job, and he had to win it as a bare minimum, and he went and did it. So I'm sorry, he's won more than Eddie Howe.
I think second half of the season, as I said, once we see improvements from players, I think Poch could be in the conversation. But Eddie Howe, since he joined Newcastle, what he's done is incredible because people are forgetting that yes, he has brought some quality players, but he's improved the players that were there under the previous management. Joe Linton, look at him; he transformed as a player. And the whole team, there's lots of individuals there that's improved as a result of Eddie Howe. Now, Pochettino, he's done that in the Premier League. We've seen it at Tottenham. But if we're comparing him at his Chelsea period yet, I think Eddie Howe's done more recently than Poch has in terms of player improvement, in terms of the impact that he's had in the team. But that's because Poch has only just joined Chelsea.
Do you think Eddie Howe is a better manager than Poch?
What was that?
Do you think he's a better manager than Poch?
Who, Eddie Howe?
Yeah. Eddie Howe won't win out in France, by the way. Eddie Howe won't go over there.
Because when I look at manager, I'm
just a bit confused. I'm confused to how you can discount Poch's time at Spurs. It's not like he was only there for he was there for a good 4 or 5 years.
I really like what he's done. But Eddie Howe, he's changed from what he was at Bournemouth to what he's at Newcastle. And the reason why it's changed, and the reason why I can't answer that question, is because he went and learned from other class managers. He went and learned from the likes of Simeone and other European quality managers. And I think Eddie Howe has improved as a manager. So it's hard. And during that time when Eddie Howe was, managing Bournemouth, that's when Poch was having a success. So they've had their ups and downs at different moments of the time. But I think Eddie Howe has improved as a manager. And we are seeing that with Newcastle so far. They've over-exceeded expectations. Let's not act like Newcastle were meant to be playing Champions League football this year. That was the goal in a few years' time. But he's managed to beat expectations just like that. And they have got a few decent results this year as well. So I don't think it's that far off, Eddie Howe and Pochettino. I think both of them have had positives and negatives at different moments of their career.
I honestly think that Poch, not even just saying as a Chelsea fan, as a football fan, I think Poch should definitely be in this conversation, man. We can't dismiss the time that we've seen from him in the
but he's not going to be up. He can be.
That's the whole point of the debate. That's the whole point of the debate. I think for you to completely dismiss him. Because for me personally, as a Chelsea fan, seeing what I was seeing last year, bro, and the swift improvement, right? Just from pre-season, a few weeks of knowing these players and the big improvement I've seen already, I'm sorry, man, I've got to add Poch into that list. And Dan, going back to your question as well, I definitely want to add Thomas Frank to this as well. I think he's a good manager. I was about to say that. I think he's a good manager.
Yeah, he is.
I think that's a great shout, man. I think there's a few. That's why I said right from the off. I think if people said to me there's 5 or 6, I wouldn't think that was a wild shout. I honestly believe there's kind of top level, and then there's a few that are like on par. And I'm with you, Don. I think Poch, Arteta, Eddie Howe have all done good things, but have all failed at last hurdles in different ways. Yeah. I think with Eddie Howe, he did a great job with Bournemouth. He's learned a lot of Simeone, Pep, and Klopp, and now he's come back and he's taken Newcastle to new heights. I think what Pochettino did with Spurs was ridiculous. It's the only time in my 35 years I ever was scared of Tottenham was when he was the manager. I think when you look at what Arteta has done in terms of this process project thing, you can give him a lot of praise. I think with other managers like Thomas Frank, I think what he's done is very underrated.
Yeah, it's the only.
Emery, you haven't mentioned Emery.
The one for me is Unai Emery. He is for me. That is my after Pep and Klopp. That is the one, and it's weird for me as a Gooner to say that, but he's won 4 Europa Leagues. He did a good job at Arsenal, which everyone slated. And to be fair to him, he did deserve to get sacked because he wasn't going to take us to a title. But he got us to a Europa League final and got us 1 point off fourth with players like Iwobi and El Neni and Bellerin and Leno and Luiz and Mustafi, bro. You know what I'm saying? So if you do that, you're a good manager. He's gone to Villa, and I don't know about anybody on this panel, but I look at Villa and think, you've done a good job, man. You've done a very good job there. So he
won the Europa League as well. He just won it, didn't he? Was it last year he won it? Was it last season, didn't it? He won it.
He's won 4 Europa Leagues, and I believe I put him favourite for the Conference League to win it. I put him favourites for that, just because he's done that before. He just knows how to win in Europe. And Villa, to be fair, if West Ham can do it, I fancy Villa to do it. Lourdes will hate it if they do it, but I think that Villa will probably do it. And I'm going to put Emery forward as well because I think De Zerbi, like you say, D, it's a little bit too early to see what he can do with Brighton. I think the style of football's there, and I think he's got potential. I think Thomas Frank has done great at Brentford, but it's not quite been the heights of winning trophies yet. And I think when you look at trophies and success, Emery leaves the rest of them dead in the water. So that's why I'm going to go with Unai Emery. Sam, I'll come to you, man, because you're Eddie Howe, man. I guess you're going to...
Yeah, I was going to mention him. I mean, the 3 that sprang to mind for me, I mean, it's really difficult because if you're going to do a tier list and you're saying, okay, so Pep and Klopp are world class, like if you're going to, badge a manager as excellent, then you could put some like managers that are like further on down the table in that category, because it's all these managers are on different trajectories and like they're on different paths along their journey. Some are in the twilight of their career. Some like Eddie Howe, you would say relatively early days, like in terms of the club he's at, the stature of Newcastle, having the money that he's now got. But Thomas Frank would probably be among them for me. Like, of course, Unai Emery. Steve Cooper deserves a mention, but like he's not up there for me. However, I would say like Eddie Howe, for what he's done at Newcastle. A lot of people say
when you said Steve Cooper.
Yeah, a lot of people say like, what has he won? And I absolutely hate that question.
Yeah,
I absolutely hate that question because, I mean, what he did for Bournemouth, taking us to 91st in the Football League, to 9th in the Premier League in the space of like however long it was, is absolutely incredible. So he would be up there, but I just think that, I was going to mention like Poch, but sometimes I find for some managers, like when it implodes, it really does implode. And when he got sacked, I was just looking now, like for Spurs, they got beaten 3-0 at Brighton. They drew 1-1 with Watford. Fair enough, they lost 2-1 to Liverpool, but then drawing against Everton, Sheffield United. Like sometimes, these world-class managers like do have these moments where it just all goes wrong and the culture within the club just goes wrong. So Poch would, he's in the conversation for me. But I mean, I'm going to say Frank for different reasons. Also Eddie Howe and Unai Emery as well. Steve Cooper, he does get a mention, but he's not up there. I'd put him in the good category, so that's the third tier.
Sam, just a question on Eddie Howe, and D as well. Just on Eddie Howe, right? Do you feel like there's a cap in terms of how far he can actually take Newcastle? Because I've heard this take quite a few times, and I do hear it. To be fair, like they're going to get to a point where they start to bring in top players. Top players look at the manager that they're going to play for before they leave the club. Do you know what I'm saying? Eddie Howe, right now, I know he's a good manager. I rate him. He's English, but has he got that clout to attract these top players? And do you think that he'll be able to take Newcastle to that next level, or do you think they'll have to bring someone like an Emery, for example?
Well, there's always the danger that there's always a danger that he is out of his depth when he's at a particular level. So far, he's shown himself to be, like very good at Newcastle, but when he hasn't got any squad depth, then he sort of struggles. But that's not his fault. That's the recruitment really, and their bad luck with injuries. But that's always a concern. How will he manage at the next level? And at the moment, you can say he's done all right, but it's just that longevity. He needs to prove that. But in Premier League football, you don't have that longevity because he'll be out the door. So whether he'll get to prove himself, he has to keep winning, and that's the only way he's going to be able to do it, I think.
And I'll be honest, as I said, he's changed as a manager. I truly believe that. Like he has made improvements as a manager compared to his Bournemouth days. I remember at Bournemouth, towards his end of his time at Bournemouth, he was very predictable in his approach. He just had a plan A, and if it didn't work, I remember 100%. Even facing Bournemouth, if it didn't work, it would still be plan A. But now that he's had some time off, it's hard to answer that question because I'll be honest, when he first joined Newcastle, I thought, you know what, he could have a good start. He's got it in him. But then again, when things get predictable, what's going to happen then? But like he's had rough times. Even at the start of the season, when Newcastle started the season off very slow, there were already questions about him, but he navigated through that. And he managed to figure out another way to go and win games. So for me, based on what I've seen so far, I think them improvements can mean that he could potentially do it at the top level. Like it's hard to say, of course, but I think he's heading in the right direction as a manager. Whether he can attract players or not, I don't know. It depends on who the other clubs are involved. But I don't think it's really on Eddie Howe. I think the players will join Newcastle based on a project rather than just a manager. Because they've got quality players there, anyways.
Yeah, man. Lil Dan in the house, bro. Lil Dan in the house. What are you telling me, Dan? You're good. I haven't seen you for ages, man.
Someone told me the Coca-Cola Championship was in this episode tonight, and I thought we need to get a bit more Premier League involved.
Dan, man, why? I was just gonna go on.
I feel like the world's got a bit too nice recently, so I thought I'd come and say hello to D for a little bit as well. But yeah, Championship in the top right. I've missed you guys, to be fair.
It's been a while. It's been a while. It's been a while. Now that Wolves have won a few games, you're appearing. It's good, man. It's good. I'm happy for you.
I'll tell you what. Here's a
It's coincidence.
Can I just throw a little spanner in the works here?
Go on, Joe.
Sam, you were quite disparaging at times towards Gary O'Neill, and you
I know what he's going to say.
No, let me, and I'm not trying to, but you were, and you felt that you could have been doing better than what you were last season, and I think that's fair. That's what you said, and then obviously Iriola came with a lot of excitement around his style of play, and obviously maybe you're starting to see that come into fruition now a little bit. Do you now look and think, we made the wrong decision with the job that Gary O'Neill's doing at Wolves? Because do you know what really excited me was Gary O'Neill on Monday Night Football, man. I know he spoke with his hands a lot, which I tend to do, but it was like I really enjoyed watching him and hearing him. And then you've seen,
so did I like him.
I think it was
likable guy.
Yeah, in the changing room afterwards, and he was like, "I never could be like you guys, but you just give me everything." I was like, "I love this guy." So do you know? Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say I saw Gary O'Neill in action, close up at Knutsford Services on the day we came back from Old Trafford, and Wolves were coming back from Goodison having won, and Gary O'Neill walked into Knutsford Services, which was a third Forest, 2/3 Wolves, right? And we were all sort of sitting there. I watched Gary O'Neill come in because I recognised him straight away, right? He walked in, he went past us to the loo. He came out of the loo to then join his wife and his daughter who were getting KFC. And all these Wolves fans didn't see him at first. And then a Wolves fan recognised him and he shouted, "Gary!" And the next minute, Gary O'Neill is amongst all the Wolves fans. He's signing for them. "How are you, lads?" A man of the people. And I was so impressed with him. All the Forest lads were sort of shouting, "How are you, Gary?" And he was like, "How are you, lads? Or unlucky today," and all this. What he was doing, not on the Wolves bus going back from Goodison, I do not know, but he was with his missus and his kids. He could easily, Gary O'Neill, have said, "Look, lads, leave me be. Let me have some family time." But he was so generous with his time to these Wolves fans. And he was in amongst them. And I thought he came across so well. That night on Monday Night Football, I was like, again, I watched that and I kind of think, oh, here we go. We're going to somebody trying to blind me with science, trying to kind of convince me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Gary O'Neill actually really surprised me. So I thought it was good. I mean, I thought he was very good. I mean, to go back to the original question, I wrote a list of 5 names when this all started. And I wrote Eddie Howe, Unai Emery, Pochettino, Mauricio Pochettino, Thomas Frank, and Mikel Arteta. I mean, Eddie Howe is the only one of those who's wrought a football miracle, because for Bournemouth, even to get to the Premier League, given their history, was astonishing. And as Klopp or
Dave,
hang on.
Not Dave,
Klopp or Pop or Klopp or Pep or whatever they're called, have they taken a team from the bottom of League 2 and a 17-point deduction into the Premier League? It's astonishing. I think it's a football miracle. That Thomas Frank, consistent overachievement, right? Unai
Dave,
Emery,
you've let Sam get away from my question. You've took it down a totally different angle. I wanted to know from Sam.
That's agent. Yeah, that's
man. I don't know. I wanted to know
Gary O'Neill.
But like in answer to what you said, look, we wish Gary O'Neill all the best. And in hindsight, some Bournemouth fans were thinking, "Oh, like have we made the wrong choice here?" But I think, look, we're sort of pleased to see him doing well, because he was a person that was thrust into the job. He sort of, it just landed at his feet really, and he did well. Well, he didn't do well with it at first, because when Scott Parker was sacked, we were 16th. 21 games later, we were bottom of the league. It was only due to us investing a lot of money in January, whereby he managed to pull us right out of it. And he did, with some incredible results. And the football's hard to watch, though. So we were sort of pleased, having a new identity under the manager that we've got that's still coming to fruition, because we got players out. He hadn't even got his assistant here, which is absolutely huge. I mean, for instance, Eddie Howe would really struggle if he didn't have Jason Tindall. I think the same's for Andoni Iraola as well. Would we want Gary? Not necessarily. It seems like the football world is angry on behalf of Bournemouth fans that aren't angry, which is really weird because we're pleased for Wolves and we're pleased for ourselves, but everyone looks at the table and says, well, you should be angry, but we're not because we know we're at an early stage. So I really hope he does well, and he does come across brilliantly. I thought the Monday Night Football thing was really good. It's just a shame that it was international break after we beat Newcastle. Otherwise, Iraola would have probably been on Monday Night Football saying how we completely dominated Newcastle, albeit the media narrative was that they had loads of injuries, but then they had loads of injuries yet beat Man United 3-0. So I don't know.
Lawless was proper going for Pete on that show.
Yeah,
man.
but
Look,
look,
it was funny, man.
we are pleased for Gary, and honestly, I think he's been fortunate to get the Bournemouth job. I thought he was fortunate to get the Wolves job, but he has to prove himself right. Well, he has to prove himself, and he's doing it at a club now that's much bigger than us, of course. And I'm glad to see him doing well with it.
Do you think the right decision was made, Sam, on reflection?
Yeah, probably for both clubs, really. We would have got more points, I think. Gary O'Neill's a good manager for the here and now, so he was great for the job that we needed. But I don't think we've got a vision to be above where we are. Would Gary O'Neill take us to that place? I don't know, but he's brilliant for Wolves, and hopefully Andoni will be good for us. But our owner said that if it doesn't work out, then it's on me, and then we'll get someone else.
Listen, before I come back to Dave, I want to give little Dan a say as well. But Richo, regular listener, happy 65th birthday, my friend. I hope you have a wicked time. And I too hope that you beat Manchester United at the weekend. So big up, man. I hope you have a great time and a great week. Lil Dan, I mean, you've heard enough about Gary O'Neill, mate. One thing I will say, you and I have spoken about, is out of every team this season, Wolves are the ones that have been mugged off the most in terms of VAR, in my opinion. I look at it and I think it's actually a disgrace. I'm stunned that Mikel Arteta's come out and thrown his rattle out the pram when Gary O'Neill's just sitting there like, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm trying so hard here. And Wolves are getting mugged off from the Old Trafford Onana incident right the way through to the penalty that, let's be real, we should never have been given. So how are you feeling right now with Gary O'Neill's job, man? Because I don't know what your thoughts were when you appointed him. And now I imagine you're fairly all right, bro.
I think there's a bit of, there's a bit of fun factor back with Wolves now. One of our co-commentators mentioned it after the Tottenham game. In last 2 years, you would have had a high percentage of Wolves fans going into that last sort of 10, 15 minutes of the game who would probably have already left and gone straight to the pub. But towards the end of that Tottenham game, there wasn't many people who had left because there was a belief that we were still in the game. Whereas, like I said, the last couple of years, we've struggled for goals. We've scored something like consecutively 11 games on the bounce now, which is unheard of in Wolves in the last sort of recent years. Gary O'Neill's brought a bit of optimism back. The fans he's really turned the heads of the fans. I think someone mentioned it in the comments just about, when he first came in, he was not the name that Wolves fans wanted, but he's got players playing out the skin. Sam mentioned it just about sort of Gary O'Neill. Last season, he was sort of pragmatic and he managed to get the points just to keep them up, which is similar to what Lopetegui did. The football in Lopetegui wasn't great, but he got the points which kept us up. And I think you've seen now 2 or 3 international breaks on the bounce where Wolves have improved. So the more time that I think he's getting with the players on the training ground, getting his philosophy across, I think we're going the right way. I mean, I think Wolves was sort of one of the teams that you guys probably penciled in for relegation this season. But, if we can get through this next run of fixtures with some decent points, I'm hoping we can finish sort of 10th plus.
If you don't get a striker in January, you'll be good, man. You'll be all right.
Yeah.
Cunha's not a striker, man. That guy, I look at him and listen, you don't need to do what Eddie Howe did with what's his name? The guy at Newcastle, Joe Linton. Yes. He is literally like a Moussa Dembele, right? Put him in that midfield, no one is getting near him. But up top, the finishing is so poor, man. You know what I mean? Even against Spurs, I felt sorry for Gary O'Neill. I was thinking, he's not actually going to drop points because of, the game plan was perfect against Spurs. You lot were attacking them chance after chance, even against United. I've been impressed with how Wolves have been playing this season, man. It's just your up top, if you haven't got that firepower up there. Do you know what I
The
mean?
one
So,
that got me was the Liverpool one, man. That Cunha header, like you could go 2-0 up
Yeah.
there. That's
Oh
a
my
simple
God,
header, and he's just flopped it. I thought, all right, come
he's
on,
a
man.
baller
Like, they
though.
went
That's
losing.
on the ball, bro. That guy is serious though, man. Like I
Yeah,
see him just
agreed.
run through people like
yeah.
they're not there. Do you know what I'm saying? But in front of goal, it's like he just crumbles. So if you don't go out and go get a striker, maybe look at like a Daka, for example. I don't know why no one picked him up, to be honest, in the summer. He'll be a good signing, to be fair. I don't know how he's been getting on at Leicester, to be fair, this season, but he's someone that I would probably look at as a Wolves fan. But yeah, man, I think you lot will stay up. I think you'll stay up. I think you've got enough to stay up, to be honest.
Yeah, man, I agree. Listen, Dave, Eddie Howe is the one that's getting the nod for you. Is that right?
I'm going to sit right on the fence and avoid the debate. Right, Dave Abstainbury, really. So, I mean, I wrote these names like Eddie Howe because I think what he did at Bournemouth was astonishing, and I thought when he went to Newcastle, I personally felt he'd bitten off more than he could chew. But he's done. I think he's ahead of the game there. Thomas Frank has to be, like the lads have said, has to be in the conversation because, Brentford being a solid, established Premier League team is an astounding effort, really, from the Griffin Park days, if you remember that. So I kind of look at what Eddie did at Bournemouth and Newcastle, and the same with Thomas Frank. Unai Emery, I mean, the change in Aston Villa from the Steven Gerrard era is astonishing. I saw the second to last game that Gerrard was in charge of Villa at our place, and it was appalling. It was so dull. And now Villa are sort of a team that everybody likes to want to watch play football. Pochettino has to be in there. I think he's done fantastic. Chelsea are just beginning to turn the corner, I think. I see good things from Chelsea. Arteta, I mean, 1 year they were 8th, the next they were like challenging for a title, way beyond my expectations. So those are my kind of 5, if you like. I mean, let's just chuck in Rob Edwards. What he's done is fantastic because Luton, really, again, they're way above where they should be, perhaps. You know what I mean? I'm going to avoid another name because people.
Everyone. I'm not even you. Yeah. Everyone. The thing is, all of these guys are good managers, but I'm lucky because I've got the greatest one of all time, so I just go back to him. You know what I mean?
I do. I'm surprised you didn't add man like Roy in there. I'm surprised you didn't add him in there.
Yeah,
what he's done at Palace. What he's done at Palace.
Add him in there. Why not, man? Add him in there, man. Respect him, man.
Yeah, and he's my age, Don. And he's my age as well, mate. So.
Nah.
Can I ask you a question? Joe, what is going on with your setup? Like your camera's moving left, right, up, down.
Yeah, like what's this?
Are you alright in your room? Like, is everything good in your room? Do you need help? Are you looking for help? Look, it's moving again.
What he's doing.
He's got his own cameraman these days.
That's too far, isn't it?
That's the dangers of AI, lads. That's artificial intelligence, Bun. That's what you get with it.
Mate, it is class. Everywhere he's moving, it's literally like moving.
Yeah, literally.
Very clever, man. Very clever. Going up in the world.
Psychedelic.
Joe's doing well on YouTube, you can tell.
Let's have him flipping intelligence and Joe in the same sentence. I'm sorry.
I have missed Little Dan so much.
Let's come to a close on this debate. I'm going Unai Emery. Joe, what are you saying, bro?
Emery, I mean, it's not, for me, there's not even a discussion, really. I think Emery's clear of the rest. Yeah, definitely. Emery's clear of Arteta, isn't he? You know what I mean? And so Emery for me, for sure.
D?
Yeah, I'll go Emery as well.
Dave?
Eddie Howe.
Sam?
Emery.
Don?
Yeah, I'm saying Emery. I would have taken him at Chelsea after we sacked Potter.
Later on answer then. I've got a question. Later on answer.
Lil Dan.
I think I joined after the question was asked. What's the question?
So who's the best manager outside? Who's the best manager outside of Pep and Klopp?
Gary O'Neill.
Love that from him. I'll tell you what, though, one thing about Gary O'Neill, he's really dignified, and like the way he spoke about Bournemouth, he could have been really bitter about that, but he came across so well. And despite the fact he was so pissed off with the VAR decisions, he was just like, resigned, but he came across really dignified during that, and fair play to him. I think he comes across really, really well.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what one of the funniest things was about Gary O'Neill, Sam, was the fact that after we beat you guys at Dean Core, he then went on to Monday Night Football and pretty much did a whole spiel on how to beat you guys.
Beat Bournemouth. Yeah, I know. yeah. Thanks, Gaz.
Brilliant, man. Brilliant.
Well, so what-
D, you got a
I just have a
question?
question. Yeah, what happened to Arteta? No one's
Well,
talking about.
I
I mentioned him.
I don't really know. I mean, listen, we mentioned him. He was in the bracket. I believe he deserves to be in the bracket. I'm not putting him ahead of Emery, man. I'm not.
You can't.
Yeah, but all right, let's say okay. Let's say we asked this question last year, this time around, when Arsenal were flying high, playing good as they are, good as they were. Is it a case of now this season? Are we used to Arteta ball? Like, I'm confused. No one's really.
End of the day, you can play as. Listen, that was what Arsenal did last year. No one expected that, right? And I was bigging up when a lot of Chelsea fans were saying Arsenal aren't the real deal. I said, bro, when these lot beat us in pre-season, I could see a big difference. Yeah, they battered us. Was it 4-0? Dan, he beat us in pre-season. Even what's his name got involved. Lokonga got a flipping goal.
Yeah,
right? That's how
scoring. Yeah,
Lokonga ended up scoring in that game, right? I was like, listen, Arsenal the real deal. But end of the day, if you don't finish off the job, bro, this is the same question mark people have over Poch. You know what I mean? In the last few moments, he's bottled it a few times. So that's going to go against him. You know, he can play all of this great football. He can improve all of these players. We can give him props for that. But end of the day, he hasn't got over that line. And the last time he won anything was with a team that wasn't his. You know, a team that's his now. He's won nothing with them. Nothing. So we have to be real about it. Yeah, but that wasn't. Yeah, but that FA Cup, cool, he's got it. But that wasn't his team. That was the team he took over from Emery, right?
I'd go as far to say, after Emery, I still wouldn't put Arteta. I'd put Eddie Howe, because I feel like what Eddie Howe has done at Bournemouth and at Newcastle. We're in phase 4 of our process. Newcastle are in phase 1. Newcastle got Champions League football in phase 1. Arsenal got it in phase 4. Eddie Howe has not spent 700 million like Mikel Arteta has. And this isn't because I'm not convinced by Mikel Arteta. This is just facts for me. This is just facts for me that I think Eddie Howe has done an incredible job at Newcastle to put them where they are. They haven't spent a crazy amount of money. I know they've got it in the bank, but they haven't. So for me, I think Arteta has done good things at Arsenal. I think Thomas Frank and Pochettino and all these guys, for me, what Pochettino did at Tottenham is pretty much what Arteta's done at Arsenal, in my opinion. There's nothing more.
Just to add to that as well, Dan, in Europe, Arteta, I'm sorry, he's a joke man in Europe. Like, Emery clears him in Europe. Do you know what I mean? They've been in the same competition together, and Emery loves that competition. He's won it multiple times. So yeah, man, I think Emery's the best one out of all of the ones that we've spoken about, man. I think it has to be Emery.
Yeah, I just want to make a quick take on Eddie. If he doesn't win a trophy this season or next, he'll be sacked.
He would
potentially, depends what the ownership's like, I suppose.
I think they'll want. The reason I say this is Eddie, right? D. Now the club will want Champions League football. There's no guarantees they get that this season, right? What saves him some grace with the Newcastle fans is a trophy, because they've been trophyless for so long, right? So there'd be a lot of uproar if they were conversations about maybe getting that next manager that's going to take them to that next level. If he doesn't win them a trophy, they'll get to a point, it's like where the club's gone, we need to go to that next level. And the fans will also agree. We've already seen when they went to Bournemouth, some of their fans, pissed up or not, they've already started to raise their expectations, having to go at the likes of Kieran Trippier and co. That already shows to me within the fan base, there's already a thing of, hang on a minute, we should be doing better than what we are. Now, I don't agree with that because they're well ahead of schedule. But I just think because of the ownership, there will come a point where they need to see some money in the bank. And the money in the bank is Champions League. And if he doesn't get that this year, then there'll be questions asked. And, if he wins Newcastle a trophy, even if it's a Carabao Cup, the fans will be okay with him because it's like he's brought us a trophy.
Last year. They were close last year.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if he doesn't win a trophy with this season or next, then I think he might get sacked.
Well, you think he's under more pressure than Arteta? You think he's under more pressure than Arteta?
No, I wouldn't say it was. I wouldn't say it was under. To be honest, I don't. The Arteta thing. I don't. Arsenal fans see it different, right? But I don't think Arteta's under any pressure whatsoever.
What?
From the fan base, yes. From the fan base,
I'm gonna let Dan answer that. No. Let me. From the fan base, yes. Not within the football club.
Not within the football club, it's not. Him and Edu are like this. There's no pressure where they're going to Arteta. If you don't win as a trophy at the end of this season, you're gone. I don't see it. The only way that changes is if Edu and Arteta are gone as a pair. Because them two are like this. So the Cronkies would have to sack them both. I don't see a scenario where Edu goes, you know what, we're going to have to move you on, Mikel. Because I think they're too much like this. They are both one and the same, peas in the pod. You'd have to rip the lot out. I just think the club will be... I mean, what more can they do? If they don't win the league, I mean, City are going to win it. Like, what? Like, now what? We're going to sack a manager every time that they come second to City? We're going to sack a manager every time they come second to City? I don't know what more he can do. I understand the fans' perspective, but... I don't know. What you tell me. Like, if he doesn't win a trophy this season, Greasy, do you think Arsenal will sack him?
Context. It's all about context. It depends where they end up.
The manner in which,
the manner how they do it. It depends how far they get into the Champions League. It depends whether they end up in the top 4 scrap or they finish 3rd. It depends on, if they get to a final of the FA Cup. It depends on all of that. I can't ignore the context of it. But Arsenal have to leave with something. Something. They need to leave with something. You need something tangible now, man. There's only so long you can keep going on playing like this, And it'll get to the point where guys like Saliba and that, they'll just leave. They'll just end up leaving if they don't, start picking things up. So it's a must that they pick something up this year, 100%.
Yeah. I think we're in a situation right now where we're positives or negatives. You could look at it positively and go, Arsenal win something this season. What a job Arteta has done from start to finish. Arsenal don't win something this season. This is going to be Project Youth times number 3, because that's what it is, has now failed yet again for the 3rd time. Saliba's off to Real Madrid. Saka's going to go to wherever. That could happen in a few years, of course. So you can look at it in both ways. Extremely positive, look at what he's done, or he still ain't won nothing. He's got to win something soon. That's the negative side. And I kind of sit towards that way because I believe that we have standards at our football club that is, if you win, that is the success. Success to me is not building a really nice atmosphere or getting rid of a toxic dressing room or, turning around last year's result to a win. To me, I grew up winning. It's been 20 years since we haven't won a Premier League and 30 years since we haven't won a European trophy. And we're clapping 8th to 5th, going, brilliant, we're 5th now, we're not 8th anymore. No, not on my club. That might happen at another club. And that's sorry if that sounds spoiled, but I'm a Gooner. I grew up winning and I want to win trophies. I didn't move to the Emirates to go and compete with the likes of Bournemouth, Forest and Palace and Wolves. I went to go and win trophies because I was told by Peter Hillwood before he passed away, the reason we're going to this club is to compete with Real Madrid and Barcelona and Bayern Munich. And I ain't seen that. We ain't done none of
that.
Yeah.
Say again?
A long time.
20 years ago, bro. 2004, when I'm beaten. That's the last time we won the Premier League. And
maybe you're just not that team that you think you are.
Listen, and I agree with that.
Dan, don't let him do this. Don't let him do this. But Dan, let me ask you a question though, bro.
No, listen, I'm just putting the questions out there, man.
That was funny, man.
If you don't win up this year, right? Do you think the Cronkies will sack him? Genuinely,
no, I don't.
Do you think they will?
No, I don't.
That's what I'm saying. So this is why I don't
it goes back to what Joe's saying. It does go back to what Joe's saying because the Cronkies are the problem if we don't. Because, okay, so there's context. We get to a final of a Champions League, we lose to Real Madrid. You shouldn't sack him on that. We get to the final game of the season, Man City win the league. You shouldn't sack him on that. No, we go out of the Carabao Cup like we have to West Ham. We lose to Ipswich Town in FA Cup because we play the kids and throw it away. We lose to Porto in the Champions League last 16 and we come 3rd behind Liverpool and City. Then there's more contacts to say, what are we actually doing here? Do we go and spend another 200 million and then see if we can get closer to Man City? Or do we actually bring in somebody who can actually win now with a CV that says, I don't do projects, mate, I just win and go and win something? How about even regardless of
Ancelotti, Simeone, somebody who goes,
I don't think Ancelotti is going to take a club job. I think it's just going to go do it international somewhere.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. He's going to Brazil or something.
I think he's going to retire. They need it. But even though I agree, there's definitely context to these things. Yeah, there's still going to be question marks, bro. Because end of the day, no one forced him to go sign Kai Havertz. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Timber is a big miss. Yeah, I rate that guy. Big baller, by the way. He's a big miss. Arteta can't do anything about that. But some of these signings that he's made, again, there's going to be question marks regardless of the context. Because it's like, yo, you competed last year. You know that you're up against Man City again, like you've said, Joe. You can't have the mentality of no one can beat Man City. You're big Arsenal, right? You're a big club, right? So there's going to be question marks around the decisions that he's made this year. Let's be real about it.
It seems to me is there like an ever diminishing pool of like possible replacements for these guys? Because they don't exactly. There isn't like a list of like guys.
No.
I mean, to put it in the context, we've had people around us want Cooper out, and then we're saying, well, okay, come up with a replacement, and then these people stumble. So a replacement for Arteta at Arsenal, a replacement for Howe at Newcastle. I don't think there's like it seems like it's just diminishing.
You're right, Dave.
We're talking down this. We're basically saying there are only two great managers in this country at the moment, where and there's some decent ones, and it seems like we talk about Simeone. He's not going to leave Atletico. When we talk about
He just had a new contract.
Well, so I don't see ready-made replacements. Nagelsmann was touted, and now he's gone.
Who's out there that's a winning manager? It's a very good point. Who's out there that's like a Klopp or Pep? Like, is there anyone else that's in that category?
Well, Don Carlo.
Even in this country, up-and-coming managers.
That's it, isn't it?
Kieran McKenna at Ipswich Town, to me, is the only name of an up-and-coming manager who I think might get a bigger job at some point. But nobody else. I mean, Maresca at Leicester, I don't know.
I mean, there was conversations about Kompany before. Obviously, he came to the Prem.
Yeah,
we was even linked to him.
Yeah,
I mean, if we talk about one of the worst managers in the league, then I think Kompany is probably there right now, like in terms of what's going on, because he's been stubborn with his approach. But yeah, I don't think
I think Burnley have got away with a lot this season, by the way. Like,
yeah,
and I've talked to Natalie about this. Like, people are absolutely stuffing Luton and Sheffield United, and I'm like, have people forgotten about Burnley? Like, how poor have they been? Like,
I think they're still learning, though. I think
look at the table
as well. I don't think he's an awful manager.
Take 10 off Everton, and
would you take Brendan Rodgers?
Who are you talking to?
Dan, would you take Brendan Rodgers?
No, I would not take Brendan Rodgers, man. No, I would not.
Just check it.
I'd rather keep Arteta, man. I'd rather keep Arteta than Brendan Rodgers. For me, like, this is real talk. If it gets to a stage where it's like, right, Mikel's got to go, who's coming in? If they say Deserby, or if they say
what about Vieira?
Thomas Frank, I might as well just keep Arteta, because I don't know that they're going to go and take us to that new level. It's got to be, for me, someone who's been there and done it. Carlo Ancelotti's CV says he wins. Diego Simeone's, he would change things completely. Yeah, people, we don't like his style of football. I like his trophies he wins. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like when Chelsea did it under Roman. For me, the best owner of a football club ever. 15 new managers, 15 trophies. I'll take the 15 trophies. I don't get sentimental to managers. I just don't. I never have. I've never bothered by, oh my God, I need a funeral now that Arteta's been sacked. No, he's gone. Someone else comes in. Like, this is the way it works, man. You just got to move on with football. Like, Arsene Wenger left. He needed to go. He needed to go a lot sooner than he did. Unai Emery, we've just spoken about him being the best outside of Pep and Klopp. He deserved to be sacked at Arsenal, yes, because he failed. And Arteta has failed. So if he fails again, I'm afraid you just have to try and find the right guy. It's not about this project. Keep this guy another 5 years. Give him another 200 million.
I'm sure it's the only right guy that we're agreeing on if Arteta was to go. And the question is,
or Emery part two, or Emery part two.
Yeah, why not?
Let's talk it out, Emery.
Second time lucky, innit?
Okay, let me ask you this way, because I want to move on from Arsenal, because we're not really supposed to be talking about Arsenal, but I want to ask this question and to close it. When is it acceptable for Mikel Arteta to win a Premier League with Arsenal, or to win a trophy with Arsenal? When is it acceptable?
I don't.
When is it acceptable? A lot of people say, City will win it. But when I was in 99 and Man United did a treble, I didn't walk out of Highbury going, second it is, boys, won't get first. I was devastated. For coming second. So why should I be now? Why should it be, well, he ain't going to beat Klopp, so don't worry about that. He won't win a trophy.
You know why it's tricky?
Get second. No, man, you got to win.
The reason why it's tricky is because the managers out there right now, in terms of who's running the Premier League, I think it's Klopp and Pep. And it's like, who can beat those man? Like, who can beat Klopp and Pep if it ain't Arteta? It's not. It's like, I don't know. I think Ancelotti might be because he's a proven winner. But apart from Ancelotti, I can't put a manager out there. He comes in and Arsenal prove Arsenal win something. I think it's a question of not Arteta struggling, because let's say you exclude Klopp and Pep in the Premier League. I think Arteta, there's a very big chance he can win the league. There isn't that much he's doing wrong. It's just the fact that these other managers, they're just elite. They're just near not perfect. Like, they've gone head to head, and Liverpool only lost the title by a point because City went on a crazy run. Like, this is the type of managers that we're talking about. So I don't think it's a case of oh, Arteta can't win anything. It's a case of they're just better managers than Arteta.
Nah.
I've got to disagree with that, man, because last year, Arsenal in the last few games, they bottled it themselves. You know, they drew against West Ham. You know, even when they played Dave's team, right? City didn't have to kick the ball to win the league.
Saints.
You know what I'm saying?
18% possession that game when we beat Arsenal.
It's Man City didn't have to kick a ball
Sorry, Dan.
to win the league, right? So as much as I agree that Pep is the greatest coach I've ever seen in my lifetime, right? Obviously, Alex, big respect to him. But I don't buy this notion, that no one can beat Man City. They are beatable, right? You can beat Pep. Right, everyone just needs to sort out their yard and sort out what's going on at home.
Okay,
right? and then go do what they need to do.
Who comes in Arsenal, do you think? If it ain't Ancelotti,
I mean, it's hard to say right now.
That's the thing. That's what I'm happening as well.
We don't know who's going to be available. I'm not saying sack him.
Then it comes down to that question of, well, we need to sack him, but we can't because there ain't no one. Like, otherwise, we'd have had Wenger for another 20 years.
Yeah,
there ain't no one. You've got to move on sometimes.
You have to. You have to.
Like, you have to. Like, let me bring up this super chat because I think it's a good point. So James has asked,
if you sack Arteta, you will go backwards.
Depends who's coming in, though, Joe.
Yeah,
man, you'll go backwards.
Depends.
I'm telling you.
I'm
telling you, you'll go backwards.
That team at the moment, I don't think is bad enough to go backwards. I think it's a decent side. I think it's a good. It's not strong enough to beat.
I know it's not my team, but I don't. I think he's doing a good job, me. I honestly, I just think it's we want it now, and sometimes you just like, what's to say if you'd have never sat? We're all sat here now saying Emery's the best manager outside of Pep and Klopp. You had him, and you turfed him out.
Yeah, there was a lot.
I understand that. I understand that, but you might turf Arteta out, and do you know what? He might end up rocking up at a Villa, and we have this conversation in a couple of seasons' time, going, "Yeah, Arteta's the best." But you just
all right,
so let
me give you a scenario. What could happen? Then we keep Arteta for another 10 years. We don't win anything for another 10 years, but it's good because he's doing a good job.
No, 10 years is extreme, isn't it?
We haven't won the league for 5 years.
Is that 5 years already?
Right, okay, right.
Yeah,
but of them 5 years, when were you competitive?
Literally one last year.
Right, and he's got you to that point, right?
Oh,
and
yeah, 100%.
Took that time to get you to that point. So give him that little bit of time to then get you over the line. I think if you were to sack him this year because you finished third, even behind a very good Liverpool side, I think it's madness. I think it's, but that's just my opinion. I just think it's too want it all like right now, and it's like.
Yeah, but the thing is though, Joe, you say you want it all right now. I've waited 20 years. Not 10,
yeah,
20
but right, I hear you, but you haven't been competitive for 20 years. I've waited since 1992 to win the top division. And I get your Arsenal and we're Leeds, and I get all that. I hear it. But my point is, like, you can't win every year. Man United are competitive now. It is what it is.
Every year. I'm just asking to win in the next 20. In the last 20, I expected us to win a title. We just walked out unbeaten.
How many teams have won the Premier League in the last 20 years?
Less one.
5 or 6.
Yeah,
send for Ranieri.
It's not for anyone. It's not for everyone. And right now, it's not for you. But you are getting back to that time. You know what I mean?
That's 100%. We are, in my opinion, I think Liverpool got a great chance as well. But I think we're up with Liverpool. I don't think there's much between Arsenal and Liverpool. In my opinion, people might disagree and think one's better than the other. That's cool. We can debate that. I think there is that. But for me, if we don't win the league, it shouldn't sack Mikel Arteta. I'm not saying that. There's context to how he doesn't win that league. So last season, I never expected a title race, right? And he deserves a lot of credit for that. But this super chat,
can I just say on that though, Pot? It's like because he got you to a title race that none of us predicted. Some of us wouldn't have even had you in the top 4. He's now been penalised for that.
What do you mean?
Well, because he nearly had success this year, he's got to have it. Sorry, because he nearly had success last year.
The bar can only be raised; it can never go down. Yeah.
You're talking about Arsenal, yeah, like Arsenal, just any little club, like Arsenal, a big club.
Yeah. I believe that as well.
Football's cyclical, though. Football goes in cycles. This is what it's done since the dawn of time, and you see Man United drop off now, and other teams dropping off. Chelsea dropping off. You had your moment, and now Arsenal are coming back towards the top, the top of the table, if you like. But I just think it'd be wild, and he's brought you to this point. Go on.
What it is, though, Joe, is like Dan said, like this whole phase thing, it's been a thing that's been built, to run away from the fact that they need to start winning things. Like Dan said with Eddie Howe, right? Look at Eddie Howe. He didn't need no phases. Like, he came in when Newcastle were basically on the verge of relegation, and he got them to Champions League football. The phase thing is just a way of running away and trying to delay. An excuse. It's preparing an excuse. Yeah. Oh, only in phase 4. Phase 5 means we're going to do that. We're going to do that. Football does not work like that, right? It doesn't. And if it did, then there's no way that we would have gone toe-to-toe with Man City after 4 months. There's no way we would have gone toe-to-toe with Arsenal after 4 months of having Poch. Do you know what I'm saying? So he has to win something this year. And if he doesn't, he has to go far in those competitions. It's a must, right? Otherwise, uncomfortable conversations are going to be had. This is Arsenal, man. They're a big club. They're a big club, man.
And that's the thing for me. It's the size of the club. Yeah. Like, at Arsenal, that shouldn't be happening, in my opinion, because we need to act like a big club. And by giving managers who've never had a job before 12-year projects, that to me just isn't a big club mentality. That's fine if you want to go compete in top 4. And
has Arteta been a success in your opinion so far?
What's he won?
Right. No, but right. Okay. So when you gave no, I hear it. Right.
Won an FA Cup with Unai Emery's side, but he said he spent 700 million and he hasn't won anything.
Right, you're saying that we're a big club, we can't be giving up and coming managers a chance. You gave him a chance. Has he been a success for what you initially gave him? Do you think? Do you think he's took you forward, or has he took you backwards?
I think he's taken us forward from 8th. But wow, if he took us backwards, I'll be worried.
You know the biggest question that I have with Arteta?
You're being very harsh.
I think it's a right or wrong answer. Like, I'm very conflicted with him, and the reason why I am, I think Don made a very good point about it. Is the fact that you bottled the title last year. I think that as well. You did bottle it. And not only that, you bottled the top 4 the year before. Like, you made progress. But you bottled the objective when the expectations change. Last year, no one was expecting you to go and win the title. But at the start of the season, then afterwards, how good you played and how long you was at the top of the league, that expectation was there. And then I think you bottled it personally. Maybe injuries, you can put excuses, but the West Ham game, Southampton at home, the Forest game, those for me, for a side like Arsenal that I saw last year, I think it was the bottling job. But the year before that is similar. Top 4. I remember Arsenal were pushing for top 4, and they played Palace. I think they played at Newcastle and a few other teams, and they didn't end up getting top 4. So he makes the decision much harder because I can see progress under him. But when the expectations are set for him to achieve something in the previous 2 seasons, he hasn't really achieved it, but there has been progress from the previous season. Does that make sense? So it's a bit confusing. I don't know.
And in Europe as well. In Europe, he's bottled it on a few occasions as well.
That's the thing. It's a bit confusing. Like, he has made progress, but he hasn't achieved those.
There's context. I'm not saying Mikel Arteta has been a shambles at Arsenal. That's far from what I'm saying. But is he the guy that can take us to that next level, or is he the nearly there guy? Is he the Brendan Rodgers at Liverpool, can't quite get you over the line, but I'll set it up for Jurgen Klopp so he can? Is that what we're going to see? We're going to find out this year. If he can take us across the line, then fair play. If we need to go and get another manager to try and do that, then so be it. And, this super chat here says, would you take a Champions League or League trophy? Set you back 10 years afterwards, because win now managers sometimes leave a mess. You're right. And do you know what? I would have said no when I left Highbury, but I will say yes now because it's been 20 years. So setting you back 10 years sounds a nightmare, but I've had 20. So if I can win something, and it sets for something else, somebody else to come in and win something, I'll take it. Because for me, projects are great, but do they win you anything? How many long-term projects have won somebody a Premier League? I don't know many.
Klopp.
Name me. Yeah, Klopp. There you go. There's one. Name me another one. That took someone from
winning the Premier League is hard because normally with the Premier League,
Man United, bro. Man United's dynasty was built on a long-term project. They were going nowhere. Sir Alex Ferguson came, and now look at them.
This one's a bit of a long shot, but maybe.
You see comparisons to Man United. Do you think we'll dominate football for 20 years under Mikel Arteta like Sir Alex Ferguson?
No. That's not fair. You asked for a name. I gave you a name, and now you're changing the narrative. That's not fair. So you said, when was the last time a manager came in and changed it on a long-term project? Arguably, and it's hard for me to say, the greatest manager that ever lived, Sir Alex Ferguson, did it with Manchester United.
Hard for me to say.
I'll be honest.
It is hard for me to say.
I think it's raised a good point. Like, what teams have a project to go and win the league with a manager? Like, you see Chelsea, what they've been doing. They're always under Abramovich.
That's what I'm getting at.
The manager, they get rid of it. Even apart from Liverpool, I can't really think of any other. Maybe the chat might know. But I'm thinking about City. City under Pep wasn't a project. They brought him in to win the Champions League and win the leagues, etc.
Yeah, that wasn't a project. That was a win now. That was a win now.
Like, it's you don't really have a project manager as if you're going for the title. But I don't know if Arsenal, I don't know what they really wanted under Arteta. Did they just expect for improvements, then find another manager to go win you the league? I'm not too sure. It's a bit confusing. But you don't really, I think it's a fair point. You don't really have project managers.
Dave, you're muted, pal.
Apart from Klopp.
Dave's having a conversation with himself.
Dave, you're muted.
Dave is Dave.
Dave, you're muted. You're muted.
He's getting proper high rate as well.
He's getting all right. No one can hear you, mate.
Carry on your settings. Sorry.
He was fuming then.
He was fuming.
You know what, lads? I was watching your mouths move, all of you, and then I lost my train of thought. It was really amazing. All I was going to say is this idea of a project does my nut, because we've got all our clubs have got one game coming up this weekend. We want to win that game, and then we want to win the next game. Yeah. And the idea of a project is an utter misnomer. Oh, we don't mind if we lose the next 10 because we might win the 5 down the road. Do me a favour, get lost. We want to win the right. Bournemouth want to beat Sheffield United. We want to beat Brighton. Arsenal want to beat Brentford or whoever they're playing. Leeds want to beat Huddersfield Town or Woking or whoever they're playing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dave flexing his Premier League muscles now. What is this, Dave? What happened to you?
Listen, hey, I had 20.
You've changed.
25
You've
years
changed, mate.
Now, I'm with the Premier League friends, Jim.
Remember how humble Dave used to be in the last year?
Exactly.
Oh, we're just happy to be here. I couldn't believe it. We're going to Old Trafford.
Now look at him.
I thought that when I went to Ellen Road in April. What a great
Now listen, man, to close on this, because I do want to move. You mentioned 2 other managers there, Ferguson and Klopp. I think in the first season, Klopp got Liverpool into the Champions League. Then he won a Champions League itself, a Premier League itself. He's won every single trophy there's.
Yeah, but how long did it take him for it? How long did it take Klopp to win the Premier League?
Yeah, Klopp. It took Klopp. How long was it? 3 years. 3 years.
Longer than that.
So, the big difference is the Prem's a lot more competitive now, though, up there.
Much longer. The big difference. It's definitely feels longer than 3 years.
The point is, what Klopp had done at Liverpool is not comparable to what Arteta is doing at Arsenal.
Why is it not?
Bro, look at what Klopp has won in 5 years at Liverpool. Look at what Arteta's won at 5 years at Arsenal.
But you're confusing it, bro. Klopp joined Liverpool in 2015. He's been there longer than...
Yeah, and in 2020, in 5 years, he was a Champions League winner and a Premier League winner.
He's not been there for 5 years.
This is his 5th year, so he's got to win a
Champions
League.
In December, January or December.
This is his 5th season at Arsenal, and we haven't got another. Klopp's already taken FA Cups, League Cups, Champions Leagues, and a Premier League title in that 5 years. And Sir Alex Ferguson the same. So... that's the thing. We're comparing Klopp and Ferguson to Arteta here. I don't know why, because they're clear of him.
Clear.
But anyway, that's the way I see it. We'll see. I hope we win everything this season and, Arsenal are successful, but I just can't see it, man. But we'll see what happens. Let's move. Listen.
Arteta in.
Listen.
If you said Arteta in, then it's Arteta out, because you think Southgate in. So you're probably if he's Arteta in.
You know what? I'd love to be Joe, man. I'd love to be. If Joe was an Arsenal fan, he'd love Arteta and Southgate.
Oh, Joe would be.
I'm not. Listen, just let me clarify on this Southgate thing, right? I don't love the football that's getting served up and stuff. But in terms of what he gives us in international, I don't want to do this, but in terms of what we've seen in international tournaments, I'm happy, and I think we'll win the Euros. That's it. And if we don't, then go. And if we win it, go. It is what it is. But again, you just want we got to win it now. We got to a final now. All of a sudden, if we don't win it, he's got to go. It's the same conversation. Arsenal, we came second. If you don't win it, he's got to go.
Yeah, but it's different. International football to league football.
No, let's not do it, D. It is what it is, man. Look, the last time your gaffer was in charge of our nation, look at the state of the game. So be quiet. Be quiet. You cannot speak. You cannot speak on it. You cannot speak on it. My old manager's gone to Uruguay, yeah? My old manager's gone to Uruguay and he's turning up. 3 on the spin, beating teams that they haven't beat for years. And they are the outside picks for the World Cup.
No one here.
You stick to Palace and Roy.
Nowhere here no one here would take Southgate as a manager, and there's a big reason.
Not
for
at me
that.
as well. I agree with that.
Yeah,
Me as
and
well.
there's a big reason for that. He has made improvements, but for me, what has he won? He hasn't won nothing. So yeah,
Take Bielsa though.
But,
That's for sure.
but you are the perfect right. Roy is the perfect example of why some managers work at international football, some don't work at club football. Southgate manages us through tournaments. Is he good at club football?
Roy's won the
There's
same
a
amount of
difference.
Southgate, by the way.
Pardon?
Roy, in terms of Roy and Southgate, they've done the same thing at international level. What have they both done?
No, they definitely haven't. There.
Semi-final.
They've won. They both won nothing.
We've really got into a debate about Roy Hodgson and Gareth.
We're back to that thing, though, D, aren't we? Okay. If your whole thing is at the end of the line, what have they won? Then what the feck are Crystal Palace doing? Because you haven't won nothing.
What's
the point in supporting them?
What's the point in supporting Roy Hodgson? What
is the point? Because you've just said, well, they've both done the same because they haven't won out, so therefore it doesn't matter. So therefore, what's Palace ever done? Because you haven't won anything ever. So like, you might as well.
Okay, and you're playing Rotherham on a Friday night.
Yeah, so what? What? It doesn't. Who cares? Who cares? We're winning games of football. We'll be back.
Joe, just know that next summer, you will be in the mud. Just remember that you will be in the mud.
Why is that?
Once again, he will flop. He will flop.
Okay.
That's in his blood.
Please clip this up because the big thing for England is our two best players. Yeah, it's actually worked out best for us that they're playing away at massive clubs that have a. They must win. Bayern Munich for Kane and obviously Bellingham. They're going to get us over the line. We have the best team right now, and not even Southgate can feck that up. But if we do win, you still won't give him his flowers anyway. You'll say they won in spite of Southgate. So it is what it is, and that's why I feel like
he's flopped a few times already. Like, it is what it is. That's Southgate for you, innit? He's flopped.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I don't know why we're doing this, man, but we'll see.
Yeah. He hasn't done anything. Yeah, he's improved the team. Like, cool, we'll give him that.
He's done something.
He's flopped. He's flopped. At the big stage, he's flopped. Against Italy, he flopped. He's scared. Negative tactics all the time. He doesn't realize that he's got one of the most talented squads, not even the starting 11 squads in the competition. But that's Southgate for you. Like, he's always scared. 1-0 up. Oh, you know what? We'll go sit back. Because we don't want to make sure the other team doesn't score. He's always negative. He's always negative with his thoughts, and that's why he hasn't won anything. Simple as that.
We'll see. We'll see in the summer what happens. Listen, we've got to get these guys out before we do see people out. Just give us a prediction for the weekend from your teams. Don, start with you, bruv. What are you going for, man?
Ooh, I'm hearing Newcastle have about 11 injuries, including Callum Wilson now, or something like that.
Wow,
it's a madness over there. But listen, I feel no pity for them because when we went up there last year, right? When we went up there last year with about 12 injuries, we played a front three of Broja, Gallagher, and Mason Mount. Yeah, that was our front three. We went up to Newcastle last year, so I'm expecting us to go there and beat them. You know what I mean? This is another hard game on paper. But yeah, they're deflated right now, man. So I'm gonna keep it respectable. I'm going to say 2-0 because it's still going to set them up quite well, Eddie Howe, I think. I'll say 2-0.
Okay, fair play. Sam, what about yourself, man? Who you got this weekend?
Sheffield United away. Is Joe not doing his? What, you got Rochdale or something, Joe? Who have you got this weekend?
Why are you doing this?
Look, I think
I love it.
You know what happens though, don't you? You will all have to have your medicine next season because I will remind you.
It does go round and round. Look, I think it's going to be a tough game, but I reckon we'll shade it. I reckon 2-1 Bournemouth at Sheffield United.
Okay, fair play, man. Lil Dan, what are you saying?
We got Fulham Monday night away at the Cottage. Got a few players missing. It's classic Wolves. I think we're going to lose 1-0 on Monday night, and Raul Jimenez is going to score the winner. It's just written in the stars.
Oh, mate.
Oh, yeah. It's his first game you've got him now, Jimenez? Is that the first game you've played against him?
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't mean much. He's finished, man. Yeah. If he scores against you lot, then it's peak.
He scored last week against Villa.
Yeah, but
Jimenez and Adama Traore, can you imagine?
Yeah.
We'll see, man. Listen, I know you three have got to go, man, so I'll let you three go and I'll catch up with these three just to close off. Don, always a pleasure, man. Make sure you go follow Don. Always a
Please,
pleasure,
lads.
Sam. Little Dan,
Thank you.
make sure you go follow these, man.
Legend.
Take it
Love,
easy, people.
love.
Have the
Appreciate it.
cherries.
Joe, let's start with you, man. You got who
Yeah.
you got this weekend? Is it West Brom?
We're at home, Kenilworth Road versus Palace. So I think easy. Carlton
You're
Morris.
getting confused,
Carlton-
man. You're getting
Carlton-
confused.
Carlton
Look at
Morris
the
hat
championship
trick.
fixtures, not the Premier League fixtures.
Don't tell. It's Dave Gregory in disguise.
Carlton Morris hat trick against that shocking back line of Palace's. No,
Shocking
we've got
back
Rotherham.
Hold up.
You've been impressive, mate. I like it.
You're
I
the
like it.
team that conceded 5 goals against Palace at your own gap. Last year.
I'm actually I owe you an apology on Mark Guehi as well, to be fair, because he's doing bits.
Why do you
so fair play? Well, I just said he wasn't worth what you were predicting before, and I think he's going to end up going for somewhere near that price, in the end. But anyway,
what about Gahey?
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
okay.
I'm praising.
Eze? Lots of apologies.
No, I like Eze. I never had a go at Eze. It was
How much
just
is Eze worth? 25 mil.
has he just signed a new deal?
Yeah, till 2027. Yeah.
40, 50 mil, do you think?
Well,
You think
they made
more?
an apology in a few months' time. That's all I
Really?
know.
Wow. Okay. Anyway,
Million.
what do you
Eze.
think? 80 or something?
At least 60. I think Palace fans will kill me for 60. They think it's higher.
Really?
But
Okay.
to Palace anyways.
I don't even know anymore because this window is mad. Like I don't even know. Like Eze looks sick, by the way. But if Elise and Eze are 60,
he's playing for England now as
pounds,
well. Like getting selected to the England squad. There's that tax as well.
If they're 60 or 70 million, how much is Saka? Like real talk.
Yeah,
Jesus.
this is what I'm saying.
120 probably. Yeah, I mean
Crazy,
Saka's elite.
Crazy,
Right
isn't it?
Yeah,
Crazy
well,
money,
not
man.
right now, but yeah, he on his day. Yeah.
Anyway, who you got, Joe?
Rotherham, mate. Rotherham. No one needs to know this, man. Rotherham tomorrow night. Yeah, 2-1. I think we'll win. I think it'll be quite tough because it's a tough place to go, but I think we'll win. And I think prediction time. We'll be in the top 2 by January. We've got 9 games between now and 1st of January, so I think we'll be in top 2.
Okay, man.
And then we'll stay there. Yeah.
Love it, man. Love it. Big up Leeds. And make sure you go follow Just Joe, man. It's got to be done because his camera is moving around like a simulator.
I know, it was doing my head in there. It was just
It's not moving. What is it? What camera? Like, what's going on?
Oh, brilliant, man.
Anyway, I'll talk to you after, man.
Dave, what's happening at the weekend with your Forest boys?
We've got Brighton, and it might be a decent time to play Brighton. There's no Evan Ferguson, no Mitoma.
He'll like that. He'll like that.
And we're back at home against the team.
I mean, you know what hyping them up. It's not me.
No,
That's hyping them up.
I mean, hey,
Great, Dave. You put yourself on mute. Great.
You're on mute.
If Roy Hodgson was on the show, he would be
You're on
like
mute,
Dave.
Dave.
Oh, yeah. He still doesn't know what he's doing.
You're on mute, bro. Unmute yourself.
Unmute yourself. You muted yourself.
so yeah, my mother's really struggling. Do you know, this has been my worst performance on this show for years. I am shocking. Dora will be watching this thinking, what is this amateur doing? I'm going to go back on there. The weekend, after all that mouthing and lip reading, we played Brighton. And you know what? If we can generate the same kind of atmosphere we had against Villa, after the 4 lots of entitlement against Sheffield United, Luton, Brentford, and Burnley, where our lot turned up in that ground thinking it was in the bag, and they got their backsides kicked. We turned up for Villa, and nobody expected us to beat Villa, and we went back to the kind of atmosphere we had last season. Brighton kind of falls into the same category as Villa, where they should come and beat us, really. But Brighton Brighton are in a little bit of a sticky period, so maybe it's a good time to play. I'm going to go Forest to win 2-1.
There's someone snoring in someone's background. I can't.
Oh, it's the dog. Sorry, bro. I'll mute it. My bad. Yeah.
Thing is,
Sorry.
the dog fell asleep listening to me, which is
I
about.
was thinking Dave sent the dog to sleep.
Yeah, I've sent in my life. I've sent quite a few dogs to sleep in my life. Let me tell you.
That's cool. Listen, love, man. D Palace, what's happening, bro?
We got Luton. Yeah, I'll be honest. We should be beating them, but yeah, look, We got Eze
they're a
back
good
now.
bunch.
At least he's back from injury as well.
That's
We've
good for
had
you,
this
man.
little international break, so they got a bit more time to, have a little rest. They had a few minutes here and there. I think it'll be a tricky game, but 1-0 Palace. I'll take any kind of win. Everton game pissed me off, and we have to go beat Luton. We just have to.
Yeah, man. I think you will. I think you'll beat them, to be fair. We got Brentford,
I
and I'm expecting to get 3 points, but that's a tough place to go. I hate going to Brentford. It's a place I really don't like going
Why
to.
at the back?
Yeah, man. It's
I mean, you
difficult.
there last year, though, didn't you, Dan? You won
Yeah, we
3-0,
smashed
didn't
them
you, last
3-0,
year?
but we were
Yeah.
playing a real free-flowing style at that time, and it was really literally just destroying everybody. And at the moment, we're a lot different in terms of our style. So I think that we will go there and pick up 3 points. I do think it will be a real tricky one, though. I'm going to go for a 2-0, but I don't think it will be like a blitz 2-0. I think it could be like a real tricky one, and maybe we'll get another at the end or something. But that's what I'll go with. So we'll see what happens, man. So there we go. Leeds are going up. Yeah, he's 80 million, Eze 60 million, and Dave sends dogs to sleep.
On a regular basis, gentlemen, yes.
It's been a pleasure, man. I've really enjoyed this episode. It's have everything in it, which is what we're all about. So make sure you go follow the man there. Make sure you go follow D Palace and Back of the Nest. Make sure you go follow Just Joe. Make sure you go follow Dave Asprey on social media. And please make
If you
sure
want to snooze.
if you want to snooze, make sure you like this content, please, people. Make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Our next target is 13K. We're almost there. So if you can help along the way, that would be amazing. All you got to do is hit like and subscribe. It's absolutely free, and it really does a lot for the channel. So thanks so much. We'll see you next time. We're back tomorrow night to talk all things Arsenal and, of course, a little bit of Spurs on the North London podcast. So we'll see you then tomorrow. Next time we're out. Take it easy, people.